What you see in this photo is a former Australian couple. Jasmine is on the left and Tarikjot is on the right. Not that any of these are easy to explain, but this one is an unsettling and frustrating case to cover. Let me explain. In 2021, Jasmine broke up with Tarikjot, who wouldn't have an easy time letting this go. Jasmine was doing good for herself at the time, working and finishing her last year in nursing school. Tarikjot was unable to accept the breakup and couldn't see a future without her. As a result, he began preparing for what he was going to do to her. Tarikjot started to stalk Jasmine. Surveillance footage shows Tarikjot in a hardware store getting supplies. These were the items he would be using on her once he would abduct her. And in March of 2021, he got a hold of her. Jasmine was bound by cables, with her arms behind her back. She was gagged and placed in the back of a vehicle Tarikjot borrowed from his roommate. He drove her 650 kilometers out, or roughly 400 miles, out to where he had planned to get rid of her. Jasmine was cut at the throat 3 times, but not enough to be life-threatening. He would then dig up a shallow grave to place her in. Jasmine Carr suffered a horrific death, suffocating underground. Tarikjot was sentenced to 22 years without parole. It's frustrating to know 5 weeks before Jasmine's death, she told police that he was stalking her workplace. She was aware and contacted help. However unfortunate it is, he was still able to abduct her from her place of work. In my opinion, 22 years is not enough for what he did. This person does not deserve another chance. This photo is of a couple on a hike together, Sara Bragante posing on the right and Andrea Mazzetto capturing their photo from the left. This photo takes place in August of 2022 in Rozzo, Italy. The two were known for sharing their hikes together and had a decent small following on Instagram where they shared their photos. I think it's apparent where this is going. Sara and Andrea traveling together and taking hikes was something they did together on the regular. This photo is the last photo of them together, and it was uploaded to Instagram just before Andrea dropped his phone when he would attempt to walk across a ravine to try and retrieve it. And, unfortunately, he lost his balance. Sara Bragante witnessed her boyfriend fall over 600 feet in which he would not come back from. A heartbreaking contrast compared to the last photos we just reviewed, where this was an accident and the last set was intentional. Some people claim foul play and that Sara did this on purpose. And although I don't know these people, my instinct is to doubt it. There were also reports claiming he was retrieving her phone, but in fact it was his phone he had risked his life for. Not that either matter in context, but just to clarify the details, this sadly was not worth risking a life for regardless. This is Sadiq Hamed Shwedi. I tried my best to pronounce that correct. Sadiq is seen here in a basketball court. To give more detail to this picture, his hands are tied behind his back. I'll first start by saying this is an unfair photo, as most of these are, and I'd like to give some context. Sadiq was a Libyan student and an aeronautical engineer. At the time of this photo, he had just visited America 3 months earlier, where he was continuing his studies. Now, Sadiq was not fond of Gaddafi, the leader of Libya's regime at the time, so Sadiq took it upon himself and his friends to protest Gaddafi at an airport that they worked at. However, this protest wouldn't last long. While Sadiq was at home, Libyan police would show up later to arrest him. Fast forward a few months from his arrest, and Sadiq is in a high school gymnasium, hands tied behind his back, and bleachers full with an audience. It became a show trial, and school buses dropped off high school students to fill the room. Sadiq was being accounted for more than just being a protester, but being considered an enemy of the state and a threat. They said he was an agent sent from America. Alone in the center of the gymnasium, Sadiq wept in fear, agreeing that he was guilty of joining stray dogs. hoping his cries would be met with mercy. Sadly, the trial continued by producing a gallows in the gym for him to hang from. 2 young men ran to the judges and begged for Sadiq's life. Unfortunately, they were ignored. Sadly, this was broadcasted on Libya state television. As Sadiq kicked, a woman guard ran up to grab his legs to help restrain him from resisting. Sadiq did not survive, and Gaddafi took notice of his loyal guard who helped to restrain Sadiq. Because of this, he promoted her to a government position. This catapulted her career as she later became the mayor of Benghazi. Then she became one of Libya's richest women, and to think, it all started with assisting in a cruel publicized show trial. Most people are familiar with the final video clip of Adolf at the end of World War II shaking hands with kids defending the outer lines of Berlin. However, his last photo doesn't get shared as often, understandably when you have footage of him interacting with others. However, I find this last photo interesting because we see him surrounded by the rubble rather than handing out medals, a reality that the end was now reaching his feet. He would remain underground for 105 days during the last act of the war. And here, we get to witness a photo of him surrounded by defeat. His world was collapsing around him. While many were evacuating Berlin, or giving their lives for it by trying to defend it, he would return back down into his bunker while the war waged on. It's also interesting to realize how close the timing was, as this photo of Allies liberating Berlin was just within weeks of where he stood. While most of the world was looking for him, he was hiding out in his bunker down below. The timing is fascinating, as he took his own life 2 days before the Allies reached his bunker. The inside would be ransacked by Allies in search of anything they can. The photos themselves are ominous. As for the photo of Adolf, it is said that he stepped outside with an SS officer to survey nearby bomb damage from an Allied attack. Some sources say this photo took place 1 day before he took his life. Whether if that's true, by 1 day, several days, or a week, it is still the last photo we know of him being alive. Like and subscribe for more. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to check out more of my last photos videos, and if you're new here, check out the rest of the Dark Truth videos I have uploaded. Thank you all for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.